I'm Jack Jordan, former superintendent of Northside School District. It's my pleasure today to interview Gordon Mechler. Mr. Mechler held one of the most important positions in the Northside School District, and he came at a time when the school district was transferring from basically a small rural school district to a major metropolitan suburban school district. And Gordon is one that helped the district make that change. And Gordon, it's a pleasure to be with you this morning.
Thanks, Jack. Appreciate it.
Gordon, when and what brought you to Northside School District?
I graduated from Southwest Texas State University in January of 1962 with a degree in accounting. I began my career as an assistant business manager for the Harlingen Consolidated Independent School District in the Valley. The first 10 months, I enjoyed my employment there, but I wanted to get out of the Valley, and I started looking around San Antonio for the same kind of position. I contacted Mr. Max Kahn. He was the business manager of the Alamo Heights Independent District, about the possibility of employment. He suggested that I go out to the Northside School District, located off Bandera Road, and meet a Mr. Boone, which I did. And after I was interviewed by Mr. Boone and Mr. Cody, I was given a job in the Northside School District as the first business manager in January the 7th of 1963.
Well, tell us about your staff at that time and how things were kept, and whether you were on a computer yet or whatever. Just tell us about what you found in Northside.
When I got there, I found that we had a hand-kept set of books. I had one secretary, a couple of ad machines and typewriters, and we actually did the payroll by typing the checks in the various typewriters. This lasted for about, I guess, less than 1 year, and then we knew, based on our growth, that we were going to have to do something. So we purchased a NCR accounting machine, that's a mechanical machine, to help us get out the payroll and put our finances under a faster control. After that, no more than a year later, we also put our payroll under the data processing system in order to get the job done. We had a pretty slick operation in that payroll, in that what we would do, 1 month we would write checks colored in red, and the next month the check being blue. That gives us at least 60 days for the checks to clear the bank and to audit our accounts. We found it to be quite effective. As a matter of fact, some of the other districts in Bexar County did the same thing.
Kind of copied what you were doing.
That's right.
Kind of describe the department as it grew through the years, and somebody reminded me that we contracted with the San Antonio water system or the water board at the time to do certain kinds of data processing work for us.
Well, what we did in the payroll office, we were the first district really to move into an electronic data processing system by the city public. But it was really by Frost Bank.
Frost Bank.
They worked in the city office downtown. But we were also able to convert this to our general ledger, and that would extract reports that was needed by the superintendent to make decisions on regarding our budget finances. The Northside District, I think that the growth was so fast that we had to almost pass the bond election almost every other year. As a matter of fact, during my tenure at Northside, we had 31 bonds.
31.
Bonds. And what really made the difference in our bond issues and our bond sales is, I believe, stewardship to the board. I was quite proud with the fact that I set up an accounting system that tracked each project within the bond sale. Even though the cost of the bond of the item might be over 2 or 3 fiscal years, it would come up with the exact figure that would tie back to the bonds that we sold. And this type of stewardship, I believe, helped us in gaining the support of the parents and being able to pass all of the bond elections that were presented to the patrons of the school district.
As you grew and your department grew, what other additional responsibilities did you take on?
Well, I first began by myself, and after a couple of years, I was able to employ a controller and a business manager, and a purchasing agent, and a warehouse supervisor who's still employed today.
Still employed, that's right.
Rongo. And so I expanded my program, and I was in charge of the transportation department, the food service operation, tax office, accounts payable and accounting, and also the food service. So I was able to hire a director in each one of these levels to assist me, and I would only employ these people as a need arise. But we were growing so fast that that's the number of people that I really employed.
And the building we're in right now, doing this interview, was once a warehouse building,
That's
right?
right, warehouse. Right.
It's been converted into offices.
Right. We needed this space to buy things to save dollars. And the first warehouse that made it attractive to purchase in quantity, and thereby saving taxpayers money. So the warehouse is well worth money spent.
That's right. One time you were in a co-op, and it was much more efficient to everything drop shipped here, right, to do the purchasing. You mentioned bond issues, et cetera. What other major issues came up during your service with the district?
Well, most, I think, the thing I'm very proud of is the fact that we sold so many bond sales. Almost every year we sold a bond sale. And in order to get a good rate on that sale, our rating with the financial housing played a very important part. I'm really proud to say that the district, on its own merits, working with our financial advisor, was able to achieve the rating of AA from Standard & Poor's and Moody's Investment Corporation. This AA rating that we earned on our own merits saved thousands of dollars in interest in the future bond sales in the Northside district. I'm quite proud to say that we achieved that level.
And at that time, you had to earn that based upon your own accountability.
Right. There was no state backing at that time. Your own financial structure and your stewardship of how you ran each bond sale determined the rate you're going to get.
And at that time, and for virtually the whole history of the 1900s, the state put virtually no money into construction.
That's right.
It was all up to the local district to float bonds or to pay for it out of M&O, which was very unlikely, to build buildings.
Right. That's right.
Tell us how the state changed in paying for the operation, the maintenance and operations side of the district in your experience. The initial Gilmer-Aiken, what changes came along?
Well, the initial Gilmer-Aiken Act, the personnel units, the ADA determined how many personnel units, dispatch units that you qualify for.
Okay, so the average daily attendance by students.
By students determined the amount of state money you get. And in the old Gilmer law, it was you would earn professional units. And they would pay those. Then later on, as the years went on, then the ADA would just be multiplied by a factor for both the state money and the per capita to generate a flow of cash into the district. But the state program has really, over the years, really not funded what I feel was an adequate source of money. And a lot of districts have got to raise their tax rates in order to make maintenance operation decisions.
Thinking about some of your staff, you mentioned how your department had expanded, and transportation was a major item, and you did a number of things in transportation to make it more efficient, more effective.
Right. The biggest step we did, we went to propane fuels on our buses, and that is a clean burning fuel, and it saved thousands of dollars on our buses, and it was proved it was safe for our students in the buses. There was no concern at first regarding propane, regarding the safety of our students, because the safety of our students always come first on our side. But we got over that issue, and we saved thousands of dollars going to propane, and also the engines lasted longer. And that was implemented by the Director of Transportation, I believe at the time Mike McClung. Mr. Rhodes.
Richard Rhodes and Mike McClung,
both were instrumental in
they were instrumental in propane. They were instrumental in the stop arm on buses
Right.
and a number of things under your direction. Food service. Tell us about food service.
Well, food service is a program that should be self-sustained. It's we develop each year a budget presented to the board and the superintendent of what we thought would be a fair analysis of revenues and sales from lunches, and then meeting our operating costs. We did qualify for some, I guess, 20% of the free and reduced lunch at that time, but the program was set to balance its own without any regard to use of maintenance and operation costs.
You set about to some goals to accomplish all of the advances that came about, and tell us about what goals you hope to accomplish and how did you continue to expand the program as time went on.
Well, the goal I tried to accomplish was to meet the needs and the budgetary process of the district, and at the same time try to maintain a ending fund balance that would be adequate to support us in the event some disaster occurred. And this is my primary source. Also, the insurance of the district, as we were a self-insured workers' compensation district. In other words, we saved thousands of dollars by running our own program, paying our bills, and investing our own money to help meet these costs. So I was very proud of the fact that the board and the superintendent set up this self-insured insurance program.
And the board appointed a insurance committee to work with you.
We had an insurance committee who would review our policies as they came due, and it was in hundreds of thousands of dollars of premiums. And this committee would make recommendations to the superintendent and the board regarding our insurance costs and how we can save dollars. And one of the recommendations was a self-insured workers' compensation program.
Well, I remember in 1959-60, the school district had its first health insurance program. And it shows how that has grown, and of course the cost has grown, the advent of medical technology, but it's something that under your leadership, Northside stayed very much a leader in it. Tell us about the tax office.
Oh, the tax office, we were collecting our own taxes when I got here in 1963, and Mr. White, also Mr. White was employed by the board, not by me, but he was a certified tax assessment collector. And we collected our own taxes for about the first 5 years through 1970, I think. And then John did a good job, and he was an exceptional man who could get out there and evaluate property, accurately that would stay with the value. And then we later on, as we grew so big, we had to go with the Bexar County and help him out. He stood by the north side, to all of our issues, and would make adjustments to the roads for new values, the increasing values, figure out the effective tax rate. And he did a real good job of watching our tax rolls, which played an important part in our budget process because our state money wasn't there, so we relied heavily on the proper valuation, on maintenance, and also paying for our bonded debt.
But when you came to the district, the great majority of the district was in ag value with farmers and dairymen, etc. And had no malls. Your assessed value behind each child, which was very important in school finance, was extremely low.
We were classified as a bedroom school district, and again, that also played an important factor in our bond sales, our bond issues. You know, the big move came about with USAA moved and constructed their building that switches over from rural to the other.
Became urban overnight.
Overnight, and that made the big difference right there, and also affected our sales of bonds, and also helped us pass these issues to our patrons having passed our bond election. So we were quite fortunate to see USA as far as
that was a great move. And the first mall was Ingram Mall.
Ingram.
And one of our competitors in the district raced with Northeast, and they had Wonderland, Crossroads Mall, North Star, uh, Crossroad, what was the other one? Central Park.
Central Park, yeah.
And Windsor.
Windsor.
And had all of those malls. We were sitting here with none.
Their line just kind of went along those malls and left us with just Ingram right now. So.
In fact, when Ingram was built, I remember one of the people on the Bond Advisory Committee, Citizens Bond Advisory Committee, called it the Income Mall.
Income Mall, that's right.
How did the computer change your whole finance department?
Well, we had this supervisor of my accounts payable and payroll and so forth. What happened is that we would run a bi-weekly payroll and a monthly payroll. And to get the job done properly, we'd have to put the adjustments into the computer system and double check them against our other records to make sure it balances. Without the computer capturing the data like our taxes do, our health insurance do, our things do, it would have been quite a hard operation without a computer, but it did completely change the whole mode of operation. It saved us hiring more people, and it just made a big difference in our accounting procedure. We were able to capture information from the computer. Kate the superintendent walked on Mechler, how much we got left here, oh, I want to spend this there, where's the money? I was able to extract information.
I know as we go through this, there are different issues that come up that there are some anecdotes that you probably remember from those days that you may want to share with the audience.
Well, I can tell you a funny one. A number of years back, we had our food service operation was collecting all the money behind this house right here. We had a portable building out there, and the little ladies would drop off their cash money after school in their order for the next day's meal. And then this cash was picked up by the Army Motor Service. One afternoon, after all the girls had turned in their money, a guy came in and robbed them, made the ladies get on the floor and, with a gun and robbed all our cash. And by the time I got the word, Mr. Cody, I think, was superintendent at the time. Right. We got to where they were being robbed, and by the time Mr. Cody and I jumped my blue truck and we went chasing on down. We thought where they were going, but we went the wrong direction. We went down Loop 14 going south. They were over at the Health Science Center. But what happened, we did find the people and get the money back, but it was quite traumatic for the ladies to go through that. So we quit dropping off money at the portable building. But that was funny.
It's funny, tragic trauma, but it also brought about a change.
Right, brought a change.
Necessary.
For the better.
Yeah,
and it was quite vulnerable right there. We should have learned that, but we learned that. But really, all I can really remember is the only thing fact is that I served under 3 nights superintendents. I was served under Mr. Boone 2.5 years, Mr. Cody 7 years, and Mr. Jordan for 8 years. So I'm quite fortunate to serve under these superintendents.
Nobody has greater respect for Gordon Mechler than I do. You mentioned some of the people that you work with in your division, kind of the higher level. Tell us about some of the other employees and some of the board members that you work with. So, I know some of them work very closely with you. I can remember one with a slide rule that would kind of double check.
Yeah,
things.
Mr. Judson right there. And, no, I report to many board members over my 27 years, and I don't single any one of them out. Dr. Roberts was quite thorough, and when you presented things to Dr. Roberts, you had to be right, you know. Raul Fernandez and all the other board members I enjoyed working with.
I think John Bryant mentioned in an interview with us that he had encouraged going with Frost Bank or getting somebody else to work with either the tax rolls or the data processing way back then. And that's been a number of years, so you might not recall that.
No, I don't remember any. They were our depository for a number of years and handling out funds for it. But that's all I remember about that. But the only thing I worked with personnel on is that Back there, I believe we had a rollback election that almost was passed, and I remember working through that and handling all the data for that.
That wasn't pleasant.
That wasn't pleasant, but it was one of the things we went through, but we knew we were right, just had to get the job done and do it the right way. And so I was real fortunate to get through that for 2 weeks.
Tell us some of the staff that you hired that were day-to-day on the firing line in areas like payroll and accounts payable. Because I know you had excellent people.
Right. Well, start off with, we hired a person that had to be hired first. I hired a general sheriff, I hired a general sheriff.
That's right.
And then I hired an internal auditor, and I hired a controller that stayed with me a couple of years and then moved on, and I hired someone to take his place, and that was George Torres and Gary Broadbeck, and I hired him as my director of the county. And these people all reported to me, and we worked as a team and to get a job done. And I was trying to meet with all my foreman people, not just work day to day. I've worked a lot closer with some than the others.
Tell us about people like Betty Puckett and Gloria Burt.
Yeah.
Some of them
Betty Puckett, she was in charge of accounts payable, and Betty Johnson, my accountant. Gloria Burt.
That's right, Betty.
Gloria Burt was my payroll officer, and then I had my purchasing, but it was office. But these ladies, what I did, I talked to my superintendents that to move them to supervisory positions, even though they're paraprofessionals, and to coordinate efforts, and that saved us time and dollars. And each person had a goal to achieve in each area, and I would watch them closely. And this promotion of these ladies, they really actually very informative tool of employment to help us achieve our level of profit, coding expenditures and revenue.
I know some people that were employed as students out of the high school here that are still working in the
Right.
district. Yeah.
One of the ladies there, Sandy King, I guess she's been there 30 years right now, but she was hired right out of high school to be with students. And
Renee.
Renee, she was one of my little gals that got that training and also got her degree, and she's our investment officer right now. But in the old days, I took care of all investments. Now they got other people taking care of investments.
And here's somebody that was smart, came right out of high school, got her degree, and continued to work here. They were really are the kind of people that other folks look up to as a chance for advancement.
And they're very loyal and to the Northside school.
And confident. Tell us about your family.
All right, I was a twin. I was born in Hondo, Texas, and I have a twin brother named Morty. I was born first on October 7, 1935, and 20 hours later, my twin brother Morty was born. Of course, back in 1935, they thought my mother might have another child, but he was born in a hospital and I was born home. And we were fraternal twins, and we went through Hondo High School, and then in 1953 we graduated. In 54, my brother went to the Marine Corps to satisfy his military obligation. And I waited around 6 months, then I went to satisfy my obligation. Well, I spent 4 years in the Marine Corps, and I earned a GI Bill to go to college on. And I really caught the hot war and the Cold War. I caught the rear end of Korea and then the Cold War. But after I got out of the Marine Corps, I went to college, Southwest Texas State University. And I got my degree in accounting. Of course, I came into work at the Northside district. I met my first wife, Judy, in 1964, and we were married in 1965. She was one of our school teachers, graduate of Trinity University. We have one son, Monty Mechler, that we raised, and he's a graduate, John Marshall. He was commander of the Naval ROTC unit, John Marshall. Did real well, and then he went to A&M University, Texas A&M University, got a degree in architecture to sign. He passed his test the first time out, 20% to do that. I was quite proud of him. So there, and then in '89, my first wife Judy died of a little heart condition, and then I stayed single for 4 years and remarried a lady named Kathy Corp, and she's my wife now.
Gordon, other comments that you remember from those years? You mentioned highlights and lowlights.
Yeah, lowlights.
That rollback was
election. It was a tough one.
On all of us.
Yeah. Most of the time, the Northside and highlights. That one low time with the rollback election that we had to put up with. It was just a toughie to go through. We thought we did it right. I knew we did it right. I just had to prove the point that we did it right. And I believe they understood that. That was the most difficult time we had at Northside. But most of the time was good times, you know. And we all worked as a team together. I hired my board members and superintendents. And one thing I did, I always told my boss, I told him the truth. So it hurt, and I made a couple mistakes in my time, but I've always told him the truth.
You know, that the thing that comes out so often, and all of the interviews that we've done is, especially from employees of the district, is back to telling the truth and going with what's right pays off. Right. You mentioned a while ago when we converted buses to propane. Right. Richard Rhodes, the director of transportation, believed in it. Mike McClung, his assistant, did. You believed in it. I believed in it. There were some people that were concerned about levies, as they call them, explosions, right, what have you. And the Railroad Commission came down and talked to us and to the board, and it was a very effective thing for many, many years. And I'd heard from Mike McClung the other day that they're starting now to build an original production propane engine for school buses, basically.
Right. That's just the parents, you know, had to be told it's safe and things like that. The patrons of the district is very important, you know. And this is demonstrated in our sale of schoolhouse bonds, our stewardship, what we told them we were going to do, and then we did it, and we got information to back it up. And I think the patrons watched us closely what we did, how we did it, and based on that, we were able to approve all our bonds. So I was real proud to be a part of that.
Well, Gordon, it's been great to
Yeah.
chat with
Same
you.
to you, and
appreciate it.
And it's good. Certainly enjoyed working under my superintendents and